technical working group for our flexible learning initiative, our resource speaker for this morning, whom I will introduce formally later. And we would like also to greet our participants from other regions, but in particular, our very early registrants and watchers, if we can call them watchers, in our FB page live streaming. Greetings to Ham Mejorada from Christ the King College of Maranding. He was the first one to say good morning and greet everyone. Mr. Maestro Jimenez from St. Michael's College of Iligan also. Good morning. Sir Arnold Bilangay from Opol Community College. Say hi, good morning. And our participants who are still currently doing the registration online, from Camiguin Polytechnic State College, from as far as Magsaysay College, Community College, Hingoog City participants, Oroqueta participants, our faculty from Bukidnon, they are waving hi and saying good morning to everyone. And of course, our participants from Cagayan de Oro City. So our viewers are still coming in. We have 326 viewers, and I hope they are registering already, or they have registered. And we encourage the other participants to please register, make use of our link posted in our uh, video, flashed on your screen. The link there is posted, and um, then of course later I'll remind you of our LMS link. So yesterday, just a recap, our topic was on making use of critical thinking strategies, and it was beautifully discussed by Dr. Jason Parba, our resource speaker. And of course, we had our second resource person uh, who discussed about creating and editing your video that you can make use of using mobile phones. We are glad to have Mr. Roger Abinario yesterday. So, but we are sorry for the little glitch yesterday, no, in our live streaming. Uh, it's still part of our adjustment to the new normal. Dili malikaya na, we have glitches, so we are learning pa. That's why our hashtag for today, we learn as one, the use of technology and all other aspects of technology, as well as we educate as one. So, and can I encourage everyone to make use of the hashtag as you make your posts and greetings in our web FB page. Hashtag we learn as one, hashtag we educate as one. And there were still questions on the quality of the video they were seeing yesterday and in the previous days. We suggest that you adjust the resolution setting of your gadget, whatever gadget you're using to view our live stream. Maybe kung naka-phone kayo, adjust the resolution setting, and including for those who are using laptops or their PCs, you can adjust the resolution setting. There were instances na yung uh, PowerPoint presentation was a little blurry. It's because some of the items used by our speaker were screenshot. But again, you can adjust the resolution setting of your gadget. And I also noticed as I viewed the the video last night, there were questions on how can they make use of flexible learning if there's no internet in their community or in their school. Take note that flexible learning, as we presented in our earlier topics, starting day 1, day 2, day 3, that we emphasize that flexible learning can make use of other strategies, not just online learning. Take note, day 3 natin na topic was on the creation and the crafting of learning modules and the use of learning guides. So, pwede talaga na mag-flexible learning bisag walay internet. So that wala na question dapat mo gawas ana, no? There should be no questions on that already anymore. And then there were also recurrent questions on why only give certificates, why we don't give certificates at the end of the webinar. Again, we would like to re-emphasize that we only give certificates of attendance after the 12-day training session. Okay, because this is a series of training. So especially for our viewers from other regions, no, uh, we have to finish the 12-day training. That's why you have to register if you really want to get the certificates of attendance or certificate of attendance, which will only be given to those who are officially registered. And again, the link is flashed on your screen, upper right hand corner or side of your screen. And since we have workshops in the afternoon, you have to submit workshop output in our LMS. The link is again flashed in the lower right side of your screen, and also found on our FB page post last July 6, 2020. Participants can still submit workshop output from our day 1 or day 2 until yesterday's workshop. Again, better late than never. We will open our LMS until next month for those who wish to still submit their workshop output. Certificates of completion will only be given to those who can upload their workshop output, and our training team will start to check and monitor your workshop submissions starting yesterday, so this week until the coming weeks. And our trainers will also respond to your questions and comments that will be posted in our LMS forum section. Okay, and for our webinar topic of the day, the objectives and the expected workshop output, it's flashed on your screen. You are reminded to have with you your syllabus or your course module so that you can have your redesigning of it later in your workshop time. And expected output, you need to consider flexible learning techniques in your course modules and in your um, syllabi or syllabus, specifically on how you are going to develop your high instructor presence, which will be discussed or introduced to us by our resource speaker for this morning. So speaking of our resource speaker, he is a graduate of Doctor of Philosophy in Education, major in Research and Evaluation, and he holds a bachelor and master's degree in Education, major in Mathematics. He has presented several researches, national and international fora, and has attended several trainings on OBE, or Outcomes-Based Education Implementation. So currently, he is the Director for Instruction of Misamis University in Ozamis City. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, our resource person, Dr. Ariel R. Clarin. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, ma'am. So thank you very much, ma'am, for that warm introduction. So good morning, fellow educators here in Zoom, and to all those who are watching now via our Facebook live streaming to our CHED Region 10 homepage. So today will be another occasion for us to learn and share insights on important aspects in education. So, but first of all, I would like to thank Region 10, the CHED Region 10, for this opportunity, and of course, Misamis University, our president, Dr. Karen Belina Feliciano de Leon, for this experience. So I'd like to share my slide now. Okay. So due to the threat of COVID-19, we are practically here today because of decisions about how we can continue teaching and learning while keeping our faculty, our staff, students safe from a public health emergency that is moving fast. So as of this time, our primary option is to cancel. If not, limit face-to-face classes, including laboratory activities and other learning experiences, and have mandated that faculty move their courses on flexible learning schemes. Specifically, that we have now started developing our modules through online or blended learning techniques. That is in order to help prevent the spread of the virus. So when we move instruction outside of the traditional classroom setup, it enables us to consider flexibility of teaching and learning anywhere, anytime, but the speed with which this move that is expected to happen soon, of course, becomes unique and overwhelming. So as they say, we are left with no choice but to embrace the so-called new normal. So for today's session, our goals are, first, we will revisit what we already have as our course learning materials, like our syllabi and our learning modules. Second, so we will consider flexible learning techniques in developing high instructor presence in the learning environment. Now let us first define what flexible learning is. So flexible learning is a pedagogical approach which provides opportunities for a learner to customize his or her own time, pace, place, and mode of learning. So with flexible learning, students also gain access and flexibility in terms of the content, assessment, and or learning path. So hence, we can say that in itself, flexible learning is multi-layered and multifaceted because in its broadest sense, flexible learning includes a range of approaches in terms of time, place, pace, content, mode of learning, and assessment. And these are applied in varying degrees. So the overarching purpose of flexible learning is to increase opportunities and options available for our students and give them greater control over their learning to a variety of learning modes and interactions, which becomes the driving force that provides them greater choice for learning in this time of the pandemic. So generally, flexibility exists in the following. It could be in an on-campus or face-to-face classroom learning, wherein we personally deal with our students, like giving them flexible schedules regarding submissions of capstone projects, portfolios, and some others. It could also be during independent learning or the so-called self-studies. It could be during virtual or online distance learning, through mobile learning, computer-assisted learning, and also through blended learning or the combination of face-to-face and online learning modalities. So what then are the characteristics of flexible learning? So first, flexible learning offers rich learning choices from multiple dimensions of study. So when we say learning choices, we mean that students will have wider options on how they will choose to learn from the different teaching and learning modalities. So for example, now that a face-to-face setup becomes limited to our learning modules, so we provide our students with a wide array of learning resources like lecture videos, electronic books, lecture notes, and more, which we will upload then to our learning management system or through other media platforms. But what is more important is that given that our students have choices, it also allows them or gives them more responsibilities for their own learning, which suggests that our students will become more accountable of their own learning growth as they progress through the course within the semester. So another point in flexible learning is that it clarifies a shift from the teacher taking the students' learning responsibilities to this time, the learners taking these responsibilities as well. So as we migrate from the physical classroom setup to a more digital environment, we can then ask ourselves, how much would my students do in order for them to learn? Or how much effort do my students need in order for them to learn? So the answers to these questions actually lie on the modules that we create for our students in order for them to follow through, and eventually on the implementation of instruction through our learning modules. So flexibility in learning has the following dimensions. We have time, pace, place, mode of delivery, content, learning style, assessment, collaboration, and staffing. So we will discuss each of these dimensions one by one. Now let's talk first about flexibility in time. So once we implement instruction through our learning modules, it is imperative that we provide our students with the basic information regarding the expected learning outcomes of the course or subject and the nature and how students will do the coursework from the beginning until the end of the semester. But let us also remember that once our students begin to do the task we assign them to do, chances are they will begin to do the task at their own convenience and finish it at their own time preference. Hence, it is very important that as instructors, we guide and monitor the work in progress our students make outside of the school premises. Much more, flexibility in time also requires us teachers uh, to create or to develop a communication line for our students. Maybe, for example, we communicate with them through email, through messenger and the like, because this will strengthen our interaction with them and then provide them with the avenue to talk with their peers. But somehow we might be bothered by this question. Are we generous enough to give more time to communicate with our students? If yes, up to what extent? Would that also mean we are willing to answer queries even at midnight and just give up on watching our favorite K-dramas? So if no, would that tell that we are not good teachers at all? So it is important that we make agreement with our student on the extent of our communication with them within the day, or would we be available for 24 hours, or would there be a specific time of the day that we allow them to communicate and interact with them to or within the course time. So another dimension of flexibility which goes parallel with time is pace. So flexibility in pace allows students to have control over their learning by considering their own learning capabilities. So this means that uh, students can choose how much they can work at one period of time in a day and decide to continue further on another time. So it therefore requires our students to carefully manage their time as they are the ones highly responsible for their own learning. So there's what we call proper time management. So at least we can assist our students on how to properly manage their time once they start working with the activities that we give them at home. So given this concept of flexibility in pace, what would our students benefit? So one advantage is that it allows them to make their decisions about how quickly they learn. Because our students have flexible time at home, so they can just simply choose which time of the day they are more convenient and prepared to work on things. Another advantage of flexibility in terms of pace is that our students will have control and responsibility of their learning pace, and this can be motivating for them in the sense that there is really not much pressure on control or teacher contact, and there is not much restriction on when a task needs to be done because there is no limited time given to them. However, if there are advantages, there are also challenges. So one of the challenges of the flexibility in pace is that the students may lack the experience to pace themselves appropriately. So this is especially true when students cannot manage their time well at home, especially that they will be working a lot of things at home. So it might be difficult for them to really manage their time well. Or maybe there is no monitoring or close monitoring as to the learning progress that they make over time. Okay. So another challenge that we need to look into in terms of pace, no, as a dimension of flexibility is the control and responsibility can be uncomfortable to inexperienced students. So we may talk about those students who already enjoy much of their time having their family time during the period of the pandemic, or maybe there are those students who are also taking responsibilities for their family, and yet at the same time, they will be working with a lot of activities that we gave them, which are now migrated from school to their homes. So therefore, practically speaking, our students are yet to adjust to this new setup, and we cannot deny that. So as we look back to the learning module that we make at this time, it may be best to ask ourselves, so have we clearly stated how much work our students will have to do at home? So for example, if you give your students something to do, and it was stated in your module that it will be it will have to be done for 2 hours. So you go back to that to the activity that you give your students. Would 2 hours be enough, no, to satisfy the requirement of accomplishing the activity? Okay. So finally, another challenge or issue that would relate to pacing is the tendency of students to procrastinate. And this is brought about by their poor time management. So when students procrastinate, it will lead them to doing a permutation or a lot of course requirements altogether near the end of the semester, which might cause them to feel unmotivated given the limited time left. So another important dimension of flexibility that we have to talk about is, of course, the place for learning. So during the opening of our classes this August, most, if not all, of the activities are expected to be performed by our students at home. Or if there are some laboratory courses which might be allowed for a special case of actual demonstration and manipulation of the equipment, because this equipment are simply available inside the school laboratories, like those equipment for maritime education. So more so, we make sure that our instructional resources are made available in different formats so our students can access them at anywhere at any time using their laptops, tablets, or cellular phones. So we make available lecture videos now that we upload in our LMS or at any online platform, so our students can access this video anytime at anywhere. Okay. So what about the dimension that talks about the modes of delivery? So whether the delivery is face-to-face or online or blended. So we know for a fact that it is not yet possible to have a fully face-to-face mode of delivery this time. That is why we resort to taking full advantage of technology to bring about our instructional plans into realization. So if you have to go back to your learning module, try to examine if part of the whole design maximizes utilization of technology to a fair advantage. So when we say fair advantage, we mean that we use technology in agreeable terms with our students. For example, would there be a time we can gather with our students in a video conference through Zoom or Google Meet? So is this is this proposed schedule okay with them? So that should be part of the discussion in terms of where and when to deliver our lecture or online discussion. In terms of content, flexible education provides opportunities for us teachers to present content in new and innovative ways, often using a combination of media and delivery modes. For example, we create lecture videos and upload these videos on our LMS so students can access. But again, any content that we present should be structured logically so that our students can easily understand and follow through. Also, let us create content which allows students to work with peers or engage in a project. So how about learning style? So we now talk about flexibility in learning style approaches, which can be designed to accommodate a variety of learning styles, knowing that not all students will learn in the same way and at the same time. So learners differ in their levels of motivation, their interest, their experience, prior learning, language capability, and ability to self-regulate their study. So it also allows for serving students with special needs and accommodating the increasingly varied cultural dimension in learning. So it is therefore never easy to design for every learning style, particularly when class sizes are large. Imagine you will be handling 40 students and these students are of varied learning styles. So how would you have to accommodate each of their learning styles? Okay. So the mere act of paying attention to learning styles provokes us teachers to pay more attention to the kinds of teaching we are delivering, which in turn might lead to a broader mixture of lectures. So we make use of lectures. We also make use of online discussion, group work, and that variety of instruction might be better for all students. So we don't have to stick to a single method of instruction in order for us to deliver our content. Because as we have said, there are varied learning styles and we need to adapt to the learning needs of our students according to their capability. So let us consider this point of reflection. So how does your own learning style affect the way you teach? Because in some instances, we may share our own learning experiences with our students, and we like to share what we have experienced in the past so that in the end, they can also reflect from that and maybe they can apply that in their real life. So for good experiences that we share, we allow our students to reflect and see how these experiences apply to them. Another point of reflection, have you considered some things that you can do in the classroom than just lecturing? So this concerns about our innovative methods of teaching, which do not focus merely on discussion, being the primary mode of instruction for student learning. And our challenge in the new normal is to modify our means, tapping technology tools to help deliver our lessons. And truthfully, we start to worry about our skills and competence in using technology. So not everyone of us uh, are skilled in terms of using some online tools for communication. For example, there are those faculty who find it difficult to make use of Zoom or emails, no? But there is no reason actually to become resistant to this change, because as educators, we have to adapt, we have to find ways to develop these skills, because we have our purpose. We need, or we want our students to learn. Okay, let's also discuss another dimension of flexibility, which is the assessment. So the most common understanding of flexibility in relation to assessment is when students have to negotiate the assessment. So flexible negotiated assessment is most common when we are using authentic assessments, when our students bring their own needs, their own strategies and goals, as well as their learning skills and knowledge to engage in a real life learning task. So these learning tasks are designed to take individual learner differences into account. So that's why there exists the so-called differentiated instruction. So authentic assessment is not about testing knowledge summatively, but about the assessment process being a continuation of the learning process, which requires students to negotiate the assessment and formulate criteria on which the assessment task would be based. So I believe that negotiated assessment has its significant importance in outcomes-based education, because in OBE, we put emphasis on what the students will be able to demonstrate at the end of their learning experience. So in the context of formative assessment that we designed for our module, one emerging concern is on the chances of cheating, right? Because we worry about students might cheat if we give them, say for example, a multiple choice test online. So that is always the risk of giving them that type of a test. No? But personally, I see it really as challenging, because we also have to use these types of tests, not only to show variety in assessment, but at the same time, it is important. Like for example, the use of multiple choice tests to identify mastery of the concepts and serve also as drills in preparation for board exams. Because in most board exams, tests are given in multiple choice type. Okay, so let us just be more discerning in giving our students assessments for drills and mastery. So periodic examination, on the other hand, is a form of summative assessment, may not always be in written form. So going back to OBE, there is a need for our students to demonstrate their skills as an evidence of learning. And periodic exams cannot always provide this evidence, but they may serve a foundation of learning about the basic concepts. So it's not always the measure of knowledge or the measure of understanding that we can use written exam. So we can make use of a variety of assessments. So there are performance assessments, no? There are alternative assessments, and these are other forms of assessment that can really measure the quality of learning, and that students can demonstrate what they're expected to demonstrate at the end of their learning experience or at the end of the term or semester. So in terms of assessment, I'd like you to reflect on this. No? So what are the assessment practices in your unit? So try to look at the syllabi or modules that you have. What are your common types of assessment? So when you develop the module, you go back to the assessment, you proceed to the assessment, try to check. What are your usual forms of assessment or types of assessments that you give to your students in your module? So would they be doing a lot of, or would they be answering a lot of multiple choice tests at home? Will they be working with a lot of essay questions and submit this online? So is there any way that they can also demonstrate something and provide an evidence of this demonstration, so you know as a teacher that there is really that evidence of learning from our students? Okay. So another point of reflection, what are the best ways of applying human and technology to support flexible learning assessment? So basically, human supported assessment requires actual performance or those which need an observer to evaluate. No? While technology support assessment are those conducted like giving them online quizzes, presentations in different media formats. So we love watching films, no, watching videos. So our students are very much into technology. So would there be a way we ask our student to create something with the use of video so that they can present, no? They can present their skills in particular. So another dimension of flexibility that is important is collaboration. So collaboration highlights that effective collaboration requires shifting our teaching practices to enable the sharing of ideas and harness the collective intelligence of our students. So in our modules, it is important to look at the depth of giving our students group assignments and a role for peer assessment, as this would entail collaboration. So collaboration can be done online where our students can communicate through LMS or create a Facebook page or even a group chat via Messenger. Finally, staffing is another important dimension which we need to consider. So flexible staffing is a resource management opportunity for an educational institution. So providing flexible learning calls for a range of technical and pedagogical skills. And there are some courses that we have in our curriculum which would need students to develop skills in actual industry exposure. So that is now our problem. We have internship programs, we have OJTs, no? And we limit the exposure of our students outside of the school premise because we don't want, no, that they will be infected with the COVID-19. And these are practical reasons for really limiting exposures. No? But however, it should not be the problem because there is always solutions to this case. No? So OJT practice may not be totally possible because of the pandemic. So it calls for effective staffing in which qualified staff, be it directly coming from the institution or from partner agencies, may engage in actual teaching or serve as partners for teachers by providing students with lectures or demonstrations according to their knowledge, their skills, and experiences. So it's not necessarily that they will be going to school, no, or the staff will be in a classroom to conduct lectures. So it could be in a form of a recorded lecture. So in a way, it will be seen as an effective learner support when field exposure becomes limited. So let us do this. Again, you consider your own unit or module. The question now is, what is your rationale of flexibility that you have applied in your unit module? So does it include some or all of the dimensions? Or how have you balanced flexibility related to time, to pace, to place, mode of delivery, content, the learning style, assessment, collaboration, and staffing to suit to your students and, of course, in the attainment of the learning and course outcomes? Okay. So one key element in securing the success of the implementation of instruction in this time is considering the crucial role of technology to enhance the quality of learning. So technology enhanced learning powers technology to maximize learning within an environment of high quality teaching and learning design that can offer students the options of time, place, and pace and emphasize different learning styles. So one of the key considerations of technology or effective technology enhanced learning relates to the intrinsic access to e-learning resources. So if students take the initiative to browse or to read through all learning, all e-learning resources in order for them to learn more effectively than face-to-face teaching, so our kind of resources online should have to satisfy the following basic conditions. First condition is that the contents of our resources are of learners' interest or those that are necessary for them to complete a task. It shall not just be something we provide to our students that we get online. For example, we ask them to read the full article or the full research article without even citing which component or part of that research article is important or highlights for the discussion or is a highlight for the discussion. So it's not just simply about that, no? So it should at least capture the interest of our students to read. So it should be prepared well, it should be prepared beforehand. Another is the contents are of moderate level of difficulty and in an appropriate scale so that cognitive overload will not occur. And this suggests that the resources are easily understood by our students so that they can grasp the relevant information. So as I have said a while ago, everything that we provide our students should something that we prepare beforehand, something that we already have read, something that is easy to understand, no? Because there are some online resources that are quite difficult to understand and make use of languages that our students cannot uh, understand. So another is that the structure of the contents should be made simple and clear, which will reduce the cognitive load of learners. So do we provide our students with an outline of our module so that they can easily follow through? Or do we provide our students with a summary, no, of what they are about to read? That should be considered. And of course, the content is well designed to avoid visual strain. So do we make a good summary of the contents we get from different online resources? Do we improve also the aesthetic appeal or the appearance of our learning resources so that students uh, will be able to read, no, will be motivated to read? And it's not just simply a part of a book that we photocopy and ask them to read. So at least we also provide or show that we extend our effort in giving them our resources. And of course, it is important also that the navigation layout is clear with moderate depth so that the learners will not get lost during the navigation on a given learning system. So this relates to our learning management system. So that's our LMS provide an easy navigation setup that will guide students how to engage in the platform. So all this equate to getting the interest of our students to willfully read and extract knowledge from different learning resources. So another consideration of a technology enhanced learning is on virtual learning communities. So if students want to communicate in virtual learning environments, as in the authentic classroom environments, so the following three basic conditions are required. First, we have to build a trustful learning environment. And this can be done by providing continuous encouragements so students feel a sense of belongingness to the group and to the environment as well. Second, we have to provide, of course, provide our students with timely feedback so they can find the answers and acquire a sense of achievement in a virtual learning environment. And we have to allow our students to gain a sense of emotional identification so that they can release their desire of performance. So they can be allowed to ask for help from us. They can also raise concerns, and they can also ask for clarifications and the like. So we have to be open, no? So that our students can share what they feel. If they feel that they need more explanation, they need clarification. So we are there to provide them with answers, no? Okay. So how about on learning management system? So let's talk about LMS. So to effectively manage the learning process using our learning management system, the following basic conditions have to be satisfied. One, our LMS structure and the teaching process are coupled. So when we say coupled, everything that we put into our LMS is related to teaching. So it should be well outlined. There is a clear identification. For example, the title of the module, uh, the component which define learning activities, no, assessment, and the like. And these are clearly indicated in our LMS so that students will know that this is the course that they take and that everything that is put there is related to performing with the course. Another is the LMS should incorporate automatic services such as automatic dashboards, which can reduce the teachers and the students' workload. Because everything it should be in a systematically in place in the system. Okay, so we have to prepare beforehand our materials, put them in good format in our LMS. Number three, the generated learning data of both the students and teachers are safe to protect their privacy. So it is important to secure the privacy of access to information in our LMS. And I think no, our institution will provide strict policies with regards the protection in relation to privacy. Okay. And lastly, the LMS should be well designed in order to provide friendly learning and teaching experiences to both students and teachers respectively. So it generally talks about the aesthetic appeal of our LMS and how it captures the attention of our students. So in order to make students become more motivated to ask their teachers for help when encountering difficulties, so there are three necessary conditions. One, or actually two, no? The use of appropriate external encouragement. So this is encouragement coming from the teachers, from the peers or classmates of students, or even from their family members. So one obvious concern of students engaged in online classes is the access to a faster internet connectivity. So because we cannot always determine which time of the day the connection becomes slow or fast, so some of our students ask questions at times we do not expect. So for example, they might send us a message at midnight. So when they believe that that they have a faster internet connection, and that is the only time that the fast internet connection is available at their specific place. So how do we deal with this phenomenon? So that should be carefully addressed. Another is in relation to giving of timely and effective feedback. So giving our students timely and effective feedback gives them a sense of accomplishment. So they would feel that what they do in online, that what they do at home is valued by the teacher because the teacher keeps on communicating with the students, providing feedback, no, and talking about something, how to improve on things, no, what students can still do to improve. their performance. So that's very important in this respect. Now, if we talk about technology enhanced learning. So additionally, migrating face-to-face classes to technology-enhanced learning requires understanding of these two things. So we are very much familiar with asynchronous and synchronous learning. So asynchronous learning happens when teachers create and provide with materials for reading, lectures for viewing, assignments to be submitted, and exams for evaluation, having our students the ability to access and satisfy these requirements within a flexible time frame. On the other hand, synchronous learning is the kind of learning that happens in real time, wherein we teachers and our students interact in a specific virtual place, like Zoom, no, or Google Meet, through a specific online medium at a specific time. So that's the difference between asynchronous and synchronous learning. So let's look at the advantages of synchronous learning. So one advantage relates on classroom engagement. So in here, we engage students in classroom discussions. We provide them immediate feedback. And of course, a personal familiarity with our students that we cannot only get through a real-time interaction. So that's one thing. Another is on dynamic learning. So dynamic learning allows an active exchange of ideas during a live discourse with the students, because we have the live interaction, so it becomes dynamic, no, in essence. And of course, we talk about instructional path. So instructional path, so with synchronous learning, teachers will interact regularly and frequently with their students. So as teachers, you will actually get to know your students well. So it provides regular opportunity for face-to-face discussion, individual guidance, and perhaps even the chance to establish mentorship. Okay. However, synchronous learning has also its disadvantages, one of which relates to rigid schedule. So it is always challenging to gather students all at the same time for a discussion or a meeting. In the end, it is difficult to manage our time if we wait for everyone to be around at the specific time we ask them to be online. So that is always the problem. Uh, we talk of connectivity. So if one student doesn't have an internet connection, so it might be difficult for the student to communicate and tell us that he or she cannot join in the online discussion. So that is simply because of the specific time that we give our students for online discussion. And another disadvantage of synchronous learning relates to technical difficulties. So this is actually pretty stressful if we desire to provide our students with synchronous discussion or online tasks, but they encounter technical difficulties. So what are examples of technical difficulties? Having slow internet connection. How about a crashing computer hard drive? So the computer automatically turns off, no? Or maybe a dying cell phone battery. Diba? So especially if the student makes use of his or her cell phone during its synchronous learning discussion via Zoom. So one of the limitation may be in relation to the battery life of the technology. So after all, the purpose is not anymore served. Okay, let's go. Let's also discuss asynchronous learning. So if there are synchronous learning activities that we can do, we can also look into asynchronous learning, and there are of course advantages. Okay. So of course, flexibility is obviously on top of the advantages of asynchronous learning. So learning will simply be revolving around materials that can be accessed at any time, though we also set a time frame reasonable enough for students to complete a task. So materials might include text-based lecture notes for reading at home. It also how about self-guided learning modules, those that we develop at present, no? So we can provide this to our students, and they can bring this at home, and they will just be doing or following through with the learning activities that we set and indicated in our learning modules. Or it could also be a pre-recorded lecture or a podcast. So it's about flexibility for asynchronous learning. Let's talk about pacing. So one of the most empowering features of asynchronous learning is the fact that the learning experience of students is typically self-guided. So they can read at their own pace, view at their preferred time. And of course, there is affordability in asynchronous learning. So self-guided modules, our video tutorials, and virtual libraries all offer our students the chance to pursue their education with a minimum of oversight and therefore at a minimal expense. So that is affordability using asynchronous learning. On the other hand, there are also disadvantages of asynchronous learning. One is in relation to isolation and the risk of apathy. So the opportunities for students to interface with, to debate, and to network with classmates are actually lesser in online classes compared to actual classroom meetings. And that is true, no? So in addition, the reality is that some of our students benefit best from access to clearly stated expectations because during a classroom instruction, a classroom lecture, we directly, we articulate clear expectations of what students are to perform given this course. And that is obviously in a face-to-face class. No? So we could also provide immediate feedback and, of course, a watchful eye. Okay. So in reference to the disadvantages of both synchronous and asynchronous learning, teachers always play the significant role as facilitators of learning. So in such manner, teachers become the key drivers in implementing instruction even in online distance learning. So as such, there is that demand for high instructor presence online. So, but what do we mean by instructor presence? So, instructor presence is a comprehensive concept in that it includes instructional design, instructor roles and styles, and specific behaviors and interactions. So, simply put, instructor presence goes around with the concept of just being there in order to communicate and to interact with our students. Now, studies have shown, as mentioned by Lowenthal, that high instructor presence increased students' learning satisfaction, engagement, achievement, and positive perception of the student toward the instructor. So a framework that will guide us in effecting our presence online to our students is the Community of Inquiry Framework of Garrison and Vogel. So this framework describes how learning occurs for a group of individual learners through the educational experience that occurs at the time or at the intersection of social, cognitive, and teaching presence. So let's discuss each of these elements. So social presence is the ability of the participants. So participants include both the teachers and the students. So the ability of the participants to identify with the community, communicate purposely in a trusting environment, and develop interpersonal relationship by way of projecting their individual personalities. So social presence for teachers involves open communication, affective expression, and group cohesion. So in creating social presence, we as teachers need to project our persona through announcements. So we give students announcements. We send emails, no? We give them videos, as these activities also model our behavior for students. So additionally, we offer an open communication during office hours to answer students' questions and address their concerns through the course. Or encourage our students to share anecdotes. Do we do that? We also ask them to share their experiences. No? So it's actually good to also listen to the experiences of our students. And we also learn as teachers. If we talk about cognitive presence, we mean that it is the extent to which learners are able to construct and confirm meaning through sustained reflection and discourse. So as teachers, how do we demonstrate cognitive presence to our students? So one is to provide our students with frequent opportunities for testing and feedback. So we give them exercises, we give them drills, ask them which component of our subject or which component of the lesson they need more reinforcement. So that is when they feel that we are present. No? And that is cognitive presence. Okay. Not only about feedback, but also in terms of simulations and other interactive activities to support skill development and convergent thinking. Okay. Also, we can encourage for experimentation, divergent thinking, and of course, for, multiple perspectives in online discussion through provocative or open-ended questions. And we can encourage students to present diverse points of view. But the question now is, do we really listen to our students' position? Okay? Do we listen to our students when they argue, when they give us their point, when they give us justification? Okay, that's very important because as teachers, we have to be open-minded. No, we need to accept that there are things that we don't learn, and there are things that are out of our understanding. So we also learn from our students. And finally, one component, important component of the framework relates to teaching presence. So what is teaching presence? So it includes the design, facilitation, and direction of cognitive and social process for the purposes of realizing personally meaningful and educationally worthwhile learning outcomes. So this presence or teaching presence can be demonstrated by facilitating our students' learning activity. So when we ask them to answer a question, uh, we are open to entertain if they have clarification, they want to ask something and how to answer. Now, if we give them the rubric, so it should be clarified to our students because the rubric serves as a guide for students to perform on something, to demonstrate on something. Okay? And not only about facilitating our students' learning activity, we can also provide them with timely and supportive feedback. And I think this is one of the elements in a learning management system that once our students will submit, there is a provision that we can inject an automatic feedback to the submitted requirement. So it is also important that we don't just receive now submissions. We also provide our students with comments, no, suggestions, or feedback. It's not just about grading. It's not just about giving our students numerical values about their performance, but it is also about telling them that these are the things that they do better, but there's also the things that they can be better. No? So both constructive, diba? And appreciative. So these are important things that uh, we have to consider in relation to feedback. And at the same time, teaching presence also be about providing our students with clear instructions in working with their course activities. Now, if you go back to the module that you develop, okay, because module is self-regulated instruction material. So students will read what type of activity they will be performing. So in there, we put clear instructions, but there are also cases in which students are not clarified of a specific task that we design. So therefore, students, of course, have tendencies to ask, no? To question about how task has to be done. So as a teacher, you have to be present. No? You have to allow yourself to emerge into the process by guiding your students that these are the things that they have to do specifically. These are the instructions. And if you have questions, I am open for clarification. And that is very important. You just have to communicate. Okay. Now, what then are the ways to build instructor presence in an online learning environment? Okay. Now, there are instructional strategies cited by Uyarzun, Barreto, and Conklin. One relates to the use of audio and video, where we can communicate with our students. Okay, for example, with our cell phone, we can call our student if the student is not available online. So we can actually guide our students by calling through their phones. Okay, and we can also share with them videos. And these are tools that we can use for communication. And these are important instructional strategy that will help build high instructor presence. Another is on the use of collaborative strategies. So collaborative strategies will give students the ability to communicate with their peers, no? Work together with their peers so that communication becomes possible. So we go back to our module, we look at which type of activity will require collaboration from among the students. And of course, we can use our personal stories and experiences because as they say, experience is also our best teacher. And it is a way to provide our students with concrete, no, concrete examples, no, concrete interpretations of concepts. And experience will suffice the need to concretize understanding for a concept. How about in relation to facilitation strategies? Okay. One is we use welcome messages. So where do we see these welcome messages? I don't know if that is part of your module, wherein the first part, maybe in the introduction part, you decide to write a welcome message. You say, welcome to our class in educational technology. So this subject relates to, and I hope that you will find the learning, the subject interesting as we build, no, our relationship within one semester. So there has to be a sense of belonging by way of providing them with welcome messages. How about our contribution to discussion? So when we ask our students to do something at home, do we have an open communication where we can actually discuss something? Is there a way that our students can also share his or her opinion or ideas about a particular learning task? No? So That is how we can build our presence. And of course, we can never do away with feedback. So again, it is always important to provide our students with feedback, because feedbacking is a way or a tool that would serve as a bridge, no, for things that students and teachers can build through. If there is something to discuss with, if there is a concept that is not understood by students, so we can directly provide our students with feedback. How about the use of humor? For example, in this online environment, how can we inject humor so that students feel that we are there? So basically, humor can be injected when we do synchronous learning sessions. So that's important because at least no, our students are feeling that the teacher is in good mood, no, and that it provides the feeling of openness, no, the feeling of excitement. So students are excited to listen because the teacher uh, is humorous. No, there's that sense of humor. And of course, I think this is also one important thing, that we also address our students by name. No, we cannot just simply call our students Dong, Dai, or Hui. No, because our students are also people. They have their names, so it's better that we call them by name, so they will find it comfortable. No, it's like building a close relationship with friends, because we call our friends by their name. So maybe we can also our students by their name. Okay. Some others would call Miss, no, or Mister. So it's really up to us to establish that relationship with our students. And I believe, personally believe, that when we call our students by name, they will feel happy, as if we know them well. And of course, it's better to also show our emotions. So it's not just about being absent. No? Once we are done with the modules, we provide our students with the modules because everything is in there. Do it and submit it after a week or after 2 weeks, and that's it. And students will not anymore be hearing about the teacher. Okay. So what if the student cannot simply do a task? No. So as a teacher, we need also to clarify with our students that at times we can be aggressive in terms of addressing a particular behavior. For example, part of the monitoring process is that we really require our students, we push our students to do this because we believe students are capable. So we don't point out the weakness of the student. We look at the character that students can build in working with a particular project. Okay, so and by that, no, we empower students to do on things, to comply with the requirements. We empower students to be more effective by just looking at his own capabilities. It's not really necessary to say that you cannot do this, you cannot do that. So why is it difficult for you to understand this? So this is a kind of feedback that or emotion that our students will not need in a flexible learning environment. Remember that there is more absence, no, than being physically around. So how do we try to build that communication line? No? So let us be present. Let us be present online at times. Let us appear for students online. Let us appear for students at times because they also need to know us as teachers. They also need to identify our character. There's also a need for them to say that, "Oi, our instructor is approachable. Oi, our teacher is strict." No, so there are some behavior that we have that our students may like or may don't like. However, it should not explain that we can be we cannot be good not to them as teachers. So showing emotions means that it is very good for us to express feedback in a way that students will feel that they have to push themselves to do better. Okay. Now let us try to look at a sample constructive alignment matrix. And I'm sure that when you design your module, you also consider, of course, you have to consider constructive alignment. Okay. So this is an example of a matrix for constructive alignment for social economics. If you look at the course outcome, okay, the course outcome says make valid interpretations of globalization in addressing contemporary issues. Now, this course outcome will be addressed by not just one learning outcome, but in my example, for the purpose of our discussion, I only include one learning outcomes. But of course, when we design course outcome, we understand that it is the umbrella, okay, the umbrella of our subject or of our course. And that one course outcome has to be attained by a series of learning outcomes. So learning outcomes may come in progression. So one learning outcome that will address the course outcome in this context is illustrate the historical evolution of international politics. If you look at the verb, no, it says illustrate, something that is to be demonstrated. So as teacher, how would you be present in the learning process so that your students will be able to demonstrate this outcome that they are to demonstrate? Now, you look at the time frame, this particular learning outcome has to be demonstrated after 3 hours. So it means that there is this specific time that we allocate. However, it's just a guide because as students will do this task no, at home, they will have all their time. But why do I indicate time frame? Because it is also important for us teachers to consider that if this is one subject, okay, if this is one activity that our student has to perform at home, there are also other subjects to consider. Okay, so it shall be carefully planned that a particular assessment task, for example, students will create a historical timeline on the evolution of international politics. So this assessment task will help us as teachers identify whether the outcome can be demonstrated or is demonstrated by our students or not. Okay. Now, if you look at the teaching learning activities, we have our part as a teacher. So we discussed the historical evolution of international politics through a recorded video. And of course, this will take time. So students will have to watch our video, understand everything about our video in relation to the concept that they have to learn. And after that, we ask them to participate in an online sharing of ideas on the evolution of internal politics. And these teaching and learning activities alone will have much of their time, right? And after all these learning and teaching activities, they will be doing the assessment task. So would the 3 hours be enough? So that should be part of our plan. And as I have said, it is important to consider that those students have flexible time at home. They also have family time, okay? Maybe if we ask them to do this for today or for this particular week, there are other subjects that also require them to comply with the requirements. So in short, they will be doing really a lot of things at home. And let us also consider that now when we plan. We are not the only teacher for the student. So it should be part of our plan. Okay. And finally, I'd like to share with you the 7 principles of good teaching. That's according to Chickering and Jackson. And I believe that if we live by these principles, we can become effective teachers that we wish to become for ourselves and for our students. The first principle highlights about encouraging student-faculty contact. Again, when we design our syllabus, when we design our learning module, it should be clear that uh, part of the design requires us to interact with our students. If I remember right, no, I have read online one example of a learning module which says or which asks students to simply answer essay questions after every module. So it means that when we ask students to just answer questions, essay questions for the entire semester online, no? So how would then we encourage interaction with our students? Okay, or if we just give our students entire for the entire semester multiple choice questions, so would there be any way to interact with students if they will be just answering these types of tests? And the activity also requires to just read. No, we provide them reading materials. We ask them to just watch a video, and after watching a video, answer a question. So where are we there? No, our presence. Okay. Another principle of good teaching relates to encouraging our students to participate. As I have said, we can actually define in our learning module uh, maybe ways to ask our students to participate. For example, we can create a Facebook page, post a question, and ask our students to answer that question and exchange ideas based on the reaction or the answer of the students to the question. So in that way, there can be an active uh, student participation. Or maybe through our elements, we can, I think there's a provision for a chat room. No? We post a question and let us see how students would answer the questions and show interaction. That is important for us to become good in teaching. The third principle is about encouraging active learning. So again, active learning is demonstrated when there is an open communication with the students or with our students. Okay, do we entertain students through Messenger? Do we ask them to also provide us with feedback? Okay. Do we entertain comments? Do we also accept suggestions? Okay. So how then do we show that they are active participants in the learning process? So it's always on our plan as teachers, no, that we design our learning module, and of course, giving prompt feedback. Okay. Maybe for example, how do you think will our students feel? No, the student submits the requirement today, but that student will receive feedback after a month. Do you think our student will be glad receiving the feedback, or would they be feeling disappointed because the feedback is late? No? So there should be an automatic response. No? So maybe if we cannot send a direct feedback within 24 hours, so we remind our students that feedbacks will be given after 2 days or within this week, so that their mind will be conditioned. And of course, they have expectations. They expect also us teachers to perform well for them because they rely truthfully, they rely on us. They want us to guide them. They want us to provide them with the basic information. So giving them prompt feedback allows exchange of relevant information, allows knowing our students well, knowing what they can do, knowing what they cannot do, and knowing what they can still do to become better. Okay. The fifth principle is about the emphasis that we give, no, in terms of task. So when we emphasize time on task, we mean that we want our students to be responsible by themselves. We want them to work on things with gratitude, no, with integrity. So this is what I can do because I want my teacher to appreciate my work So I will do this, no? And for us teachers to generate that positive response from our students, we do things that will motivate them, okay? And one way is to build a good relationship with our students so that everything that they do will be accomplished, no? So giving emphasis in terms of doing a specific task. So the sixth principle is about communicating our high expectations. So how do we communicate our expectations with our students? So if we go back again, if we rely on our module, we have their expectation that is stated as a learning outcome or a course outcome. That is the high expectation that we want our students to understand because they will be working on that expectation. However, expectation does not stop from students knowing the learning outcome. It is also about creating a monitoring scheme or monitoring our students when they do things from the beginning until the end. So we have to be around for our students at any time so that we can guide them, so that we can provide them a timeline, no, for what they do. It's not just about receiving assignments from time to time because sometimes we also complain with our students, right? We also complain that they submit uh, for the sake of just submitting the requirement. So sometimes students will settle for less, no? And as teachers, it's not just the thing, no? It should not be the case all the time. Okay, we don't have to just sit down and think of it as the way it is, no? So there should be communication, should be feedback, there should be follow-up. Okay, we should have to empower students as they are because we know that they're capable, we know that they have the skills, only that they will be developing the skills. So let us try to build and create an open communication so that if we have high expectations, these are well understood by our students. Okay? And the last principle of good teaching is about respecting diverse talents and ways of learning. So this is a broad concept. If we talk about diverse talents, we mean multiple intelligences. Okay. How do we cater different abilities of our students for learning online or using the flexible learning approach? If do we design differentiated instruction, or do we provide our students with varying or different activities that will suit to their needs or to their own capability? Okay. Now, as teachers, with showing also respect to diverse talents of our students would mean that there is no way that we can say that our students cannot do things well. All right, because there's always a right time for everything. That is why if we understand outcomes-based education in our teaching and learning process, for example, assessment, we don't actually give a strict deadline because what we're looking for is the ability of the student to perform. Because if we also give deadline, we stop students from giving the chance or the opportunity to do a particular task, to perform a particular task, to show their skills, and ask them not to demonstrate this. Okay? So let us also be flexible. No? That is what the essence of these things here that we are talking about. Let us be flexible with accepting diverse learners. And of course, there are ways of learning. I do not know if you're into looking with your to your students in terms of how they learn. For example, no, there are students who would love to send you messages. Okay, for example, ask a lot of questions online. They are so active through Messenger. Mom, I have this. Can you please explain this one? And there are also students who are so quiet online. They're as if we did not know them. Now, at times that we feel that these are the extreme personalities of our students, how would we have to react? How would we have to feel? No? Would we praise students for actively communicating with us? Would we have to reprimand students for not giving time to communicate with us? So respect is showing positive encouragement. No? If we feel that student is not active or is not responsive, so let's reach out. Now let's try to reach out to the students so that we can bring them and they can become active in the learning process. Okay, so that is showing our respect to the diversity of our students in terms of their skills, their capabilities, and of course on how they learn. So I think that is my lecture for today. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope that you're clarified with some issues that you have, and I'm also willing to answer your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sir Ariel, for that very informative and detailed presentation. In fact, Dr. Clarine has given a sort of review of what has been presented since day one, no, a review of what flexible learning is. He started with that and then went to how faculty members in the higher education can transition to flexible learning with high presence, okay, using the technology or through the use of modules. So at this point in time, we will accommodate questions and comments from our viewers. And I hope Sir Ariel is ready to answer. Okay na, sir. You want to drink water, Sir Ariel?
For a while.
Okay, so okay, so I will scroll down our comment box and see if there are questions already. Okay, there's a first question, I think from Mam Sol. This is Mam Sol Vertodazo. Uh, the question is, not, this is not a question, but this is her opinion,
Comment.
and you can
Or,
comment, Sir Ariel. We may need to adjust our expectations to student circumstances. I noticed that from last semester that the good performers have become laggards due to the lack of net access. It's your comment on this, Sir Ariel.
yes, ma'am. With regards expectations, it is good also to consider the capabilities of our students. So I think we need that to change the expectation. But we have to understand that students will have different ways of expressing themselves to express about what they learn. So if in the past, now it's easy for us to identify students who are performing well in our class because they are inside our classroom. So maybe at this present time, if they're working a lot at home, uh, we may ask students to demonstrate what they know in different ways. No? So maybe one way is uh, to ask students to do a thing using a video or anything that is open for us to see or observe or to evaluate. So there are actually multiple ways of assessing our students.
Okay.
But of
Yeah.
course, the expectation should be made because in the end, we build the course with the expected learning outcomes. No? Or maybe if you want an expectation that is different from the past, no? So it should be clarified to our students. For as long as this expectation is something that students can really demonstrate.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that, Sir Ariel. You emphasize setting high expectations. And because these are higher education students that we're dealing with, they have to learn how to
Yes, ma'am.
meet up with that expectations. But si Ma'am Sol has followed that up with there's a need to really reach out to students, and maybe we need now an intermediary. I'm not sure what she meant by that. But anyway, there's another question from, wait, uh, wait, wait, sir, allowed me to scroll down. Nawala na noon.
It's okay, ma'am.
Anyway, while I was scrolling down sa comment box, I saw that we have participants from us outside the country. We have
Oh,
from India, who else? May India pa dito. And then, of course, we have from Sulu. Sulu, of course, in the Philippines. Okay. Where was the question? Wait lang. Wait for a while. Okay, we are flooded with a lot of appreciation to our speakers. No, thank you, daw, Sir Ariel, for the
okay, thank you very
presentation.
much.
Thank you. Okay, this one. The question is from Mr. Ricardo Marcelo. If we are not to give deadlines, how can we wait? Wait, Sir Han. Okay. How can we be sure that we get the main goal for that student? Like measuring his own abilities on that learning goals. There are students who submit tasks that were made by their classmates or friends. Can we also take into consideration that they should also have to take in deadlines, since that is also the reality in their workplace, in the workplace?
Okay,
Yes, sir.
I think now giving deadlines is somewhat subjective. So what we mean by deadline is that we should be flexible. So for example, if this particular task is to be done by a student for an hour, would it mean that it will only be for today? Okay. So for example, I just cite one example. There are learning tasks that we provide to our students using our LMS. Okay. And in our LMS, there's a provision there that we can actually close that particular learning task so that students cannot anymore perform. Okay. Now, when we talk about flexibility, deadline would mean that we should be flexible within a given time. No? So maybe a particular task will be available for a week or two so that students can have wider accessibility when it comes to opening the task. There's always, of course, no, we have to set a deadline. But again, it should be flexible. Okay, it should be flexible. And also, the other thing, ma'am, relates to what was that, ma'am?
Considerations, can we also take into consideration that our students have to take in deadlines, because that's also a reality in our workplace, meaning also teachers have issues on deadlines because of the new normal, like
Yes, ma'am.
in connectivity maybe ng faculty, or work from home yung faculty.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm.
And I think there was also a mention regarding other students, no, doing the work
Yes,
of
yeah,
their
classmates and friends
classmates.
doing the tasks for the student.
So these are actually things in practical that are out of our control. However, if we design guidelines, no, for which students can really demonstrate what they actually know, uh, it's important. For example, uh, giving them a multiple choice test. So we know that this kind of a formative test can be cheated. Okay. However, to also limit the chance of cheating, we may ask our students to give us justification, to explain, no? uh, to provide justification for an answer. So in that way, we can verify that that answer really comes from the student, and it's not just simply coming from the answer of another student. I discussed that a while ago, that these are the things that again are out of our control. However, these types of tests are also needed for board exams. Okay. So the question now is, when do we have to record a result coming from a multiple choice test in relation to grading purposes? Or when do we give these kinds of tests to serve only for mastery or as drills? Okay, so that should be well thought of by the teacher. I don't know if the LMS has the capability to also limit the chance of cheating if these tests are employed. But as I have said, let us see, no? Ano ba yung purpose ng multiple choice test? Is it for grading purposes or is it for mastery purposes? So I think that's one way to look at it.
Okay. Thank you, sir. That means there's a need for really the faculty to be creative and innovative in
Yes.
designing their assessment. Anyway,
Yes.
another question, sir, is from Julie Lau from St. Peter's College. The question is, do we entertain students who repeatedly message the faculty during the wee hours of the evening or night just to ask how many absences incurred when that student has never attended any of our live or the live online sessions or has never submitted a requirement but only this but always displays his stories in Facebook.
Okay, I think do we
Social
have
media presence daw but not online classes na
okay.
presence.
So do we have to entertain the students now if
Uh,
they are giving us messages even at midnight? So I think our role as a teacher is to really clarify with our students from the start our policies, now our guidelines. So how would our students communicate at what particular time of the day?
mm,
So for example, it may be office hours from 8 o'clock in the morning up to 5 o'clock in the evening, or you can give them a specific time at night that you will entertain queries or questions. Now, it should be clarified with our students and dapat naka-explain yan before the start of our class. Okay? And when it comes to students who are active on Facebook but not in their classes, so I think the teacher has to extend double effort, no? Because as teachers, we have to reach out. No? We need not just to wait for our students to tell us that, "Oy, ma'am, hindi talaga ako makaka-attend." But it is a matter of reaching out to our students. So if we feel that our students are active online, we see them on Facebook, so why not send a message? And kailangan kumustahin yung estudyante. So I think that is where we can start, no? To also say, "Hi, how are you? How are you doing?" Maybe the student is afraid for example, not being able to attend classes for a series of time. So at least on our end as teacher, we know what to do. No? Let us first reach out. No? Let us turn our pride down by just finding means. No? Kung paano talaga natin ma-reach out yung mga estudyante. Importante yan.
okay, thank you, sir. Now here's an interesting question, but of course you can address this. It is also a concern for others. Like, how long, on the average, now, should we hold our students online, or how long should your online class be? This is from Ma'am Amelia Ayapana.
Okay, so in my experience with online classes, especially if we're talking about synchronous learning, so if it's a live discussion via Zoom, no? So I believe that our students practically are having this problem with attention span. So for our students to not have that cognitive overload. So maybe we can just have a class for a day in relation to that content for 1 hour. That may be enough. No? At least an hour will do, and then after that, they can send their clarification for some other time of the day. So what we can do about an online class para at least di naman, kasi I feel that if it is longer, parang mabobore din yung estudyante and masakit din sa tenga minsan. So I think no, that would be enough, at least one.
Mag-MC. We're having a technical glitch for a while. We will wait for our speaker to return. Sir Ariel, are you still there? We're having some technical glitch again. Uh, we'll
Yes,
wait for
ma'am. Yes,
Sir.
ma'am.
Are you still
I'm here.
around?
I'm still around.
Okay, sige. We'll see. We'll check our Facebook if you're still okay. We're back. Sorry for that. So Sir Ariel, there's a yes, there's an explanation coming from Sol. Intermediary, what you mentioned earlier, means using other students as conduit to make the learning resources uh, accessible to other students who have
Mm.
no smartphones, who have no internet access. Thank you for that enlightenment, Ma'am Sol. Okay, now another question. Yeah, but before that, we experience as a lagging or slowing down in our Facebook live streaming. But don't worry, once we post the video in YouTube, we are mawala. Those will not be included already because in our Zoom meeting room, walang lag. Okay, so you can view our video later. So two more or three more questions, Sir Ariel? Or
Yes,
is
ma'am.
still okay for you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What is your opinion if it, sorry, what is your opinion for the use of asynchronous type of delivery, but using role playing as a teaching or learning strategy? I think also the same with subjects that needs demonstration of students, like psychomotor outcomes or
Yes,
psychomotor
ma'am.
objectives. Sir Ariel.
Yes, ma'am. So if it is asynchronous, but we require our student to do a role play, so it would mean that our student will have to do the role play and have it recorded, okay, and send it to the teacher at any time. So that can still be a way to really look at the skill of the student in terms of demonstrating through a role play. So recording, no, recording is a way to really suffice the need for asynchronous learning because we have Facebook, we have Messenger, we have the YouTube. All these things can be viewed using these online platforms, and they can be uploaded at any time.
Thank you, Sir Ariel. Okay. Uh, Second to the last question, when we are going to have limited face-to-face meeting, is there a prescribed time limit also? This is from Ma'am Armelina Bardilas.
So when we talk about time limit, so I think with the limited face-to-face classes, time is always flexible 24 hours. So time is always flexible within 24 hours. The only thing, as I've said as teachers, is that we also have to understand that our students have also their family life home. So when we ask them to do a task, it should be according to what we plan. For example, asking them to make a portfolio, but we design, we believe that this can be done for this particular number of hours. So it should be clarified that our students will not be doing these things for the whole day. No? So dapat klaro din sa kanila na we don't take all of their time and they are not always preoccupied with what we give them. Kasi hindi lang naman tayo yung nagtuturo. and there are other subjects that they also have to attend to. So let us be more flexible also in giving them assessments, no? Para hindi naman ma-feel nila na kahit nasa bahay sila, parang wala na rin silang oras for their family. Okay? So
Okay.
flexibility is 20% of the
Uh-oh, we're having technical difficulties again. Okay. So wait, okay, we're having technical difficulty again. Sir Ariel, are you back?
Yes, ma'am. I'm
Okay,
back.
I think okay, so there's a oh, okay. So it's the connection pala ng MU ang mic. Okay, anyway, so I think we have enough of the answers, no? In fact, na-elaborate, no, ni Sir Ariel ang iyang responses and that very clearly. So thank you, Sir Ariel. As much as
Thank
we
you very much,
wanted
ma'am.
to accommodate all the other questions, there were questions about nursing outcomes, especially for those competencies where students really need to do actual patient care. So there's a really need to revise and be innovative, no, ang ating faculties in nursing, and not only nursing but other healthcare
Maritime.
programs, no, to do how do they conduct their flexible learning on that. So that needs to be really, really planned out well. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So
I agree.
before we go, just some reminders for our participants. Please do not forget to register. Sir Mark Godfrey will flash again our registration link. Funny, there are still participants, no, commenting how can they register. We emphasize again and again that the link is always posted on top of the video, so my title part, and then you see there the link for the registration. And then of course our certificates of attendance will only be given to those who are officially registered after the 12 sessions. And then for the workshop, asynchronous workshop, please submit your workshop output through our LMS. The link is again flashed on your screen, and review that. Your workshop output, by the way, for today should be an enhancement of your syllabus, where you can make adjustments or enhancement to your teaching, learning activities, and assessment for your that will suit the flexible learning methodology or mode. And then certificates of completion will only be given to those who can upload their workshop outputs. Participants can still submit workshop outputs from the date one until yesterday's workshop. And then the training team will check on your workshop outputs, and then the trainers will respond also to some of your questions and comments in the LMS forum section. Okay, please be reminded that our next schedule, our third to the last meeting, will be on Monday, July 27. And we still have 3 more sessions, no? July 27, our topic is on um, understanding the LMS, and you will be introduced to the Moodle virtual classroom and how to create that. And then it will be followed by the next day session on experiencing the virtual classroom as a student, and then how to set up and configure the virtual classroom, and as an editing teacher. Okay, that is putting ourselves already as the editing teacher. And then on the last day, in the afternoon of July 30, we will have our closing program. So we encourage everyone to be around in the afternoon of July 30 for our closing program and for all other announcements. Okay, but before I officially close, I would like to share with you the platform and prepared by, spearheaded by Ched. uh, for a while. I'll share it to you. Where is my, okay, for a while. Okay, this one. Okay, okay. Shed has launched the Feel Shed Connect through our official website, ched.gov.ph, for any resources. This is open educational resource, no? A variety of resources. All you have to do is visit our website, ched.gov.ph, click on this part here, phlched.connect, and then you see this window here where you can browse over the different disciplines, okay? Or you can just type in, for example, management, you can type and then search, or you can go directly to the discipline, for example, teacher education. Then this interface here will come out, and then it will give you a summary of how many resources are there for agriculture and all the others. And of course, may mga concise parang discussion or presentation of what's in that particular resource. And they come in many forms. May mga PDF files, may ebooks, may seminar or lecture summary and all there. Okay, so it's, you can make use of this if you want your students to do their research and include this in their requirements for your students. Okay, so that's it. And wait, allow me to exit first. Okay, so at this point in time, we'd like to say thank you again to our resource person, Dr. Ariel Clarin
Thank you,
from
ma'am.
Misamis University. In behalf of the Commission on Higher Education Region 10 and the Technical Working Group on Flexible Learning in the region, thank you very much for sharing your time and your expertise. Thank you also to our participants watching through our Facebook live stream. Good morning once again. Please use the hashtag We Learn as One and hashtag We Educate as One. Stay safe and stay healthy, everyone. See you on Monday. Bye, everyone.